All right, so yesterday.
Are we starting earlier now?
It's 6:39. We're starting 1 minute early.
I'm going to try it and start at 6:30 minutes.
Why don't we try 30?
Oh?
Why don't we try 35 and then 30?
That's right. Well, to try 30, you'll first have Halavai should start 35. Okay, let's not waste time. So, yesterday class, at one point I thought, oh, maybe people did not really get the point. But then I realized, especially for Shlomo Yenis's notes, that yes, the point did come across. And the point is that because that there's an etzem, there's an atzmi element behind the beginning of everything, including the creation of the world. Therefore, this etzem element was transmitted on a worldly level, but also an etzem quality. And we pointed out that the etzem quality that we see in the world is the fact that there is nature, laws of nature. The world seems to be self-conducting, self-perpetuating, self-developing. This is not a worldly phenomenon. This is the divine phenomenon. This is what the Eibishter, the Etzem, has given to the world, to make it a real presence. All right, let's continue on. Since I said, Baruch Hashem, I saw that people did get the point. This was so important. This principle, that the laws of nature, that the world claims to itself to be a worldly creation, so to speak, is really a divine creation. And it is only true because there's a divine truth behind the existence of the world, because there is a creator. If, God forbid, one looks at the world the other way, he would never have this. It would always be a precarious existence.
Can I still ask something?
Yes, sir.
I didn't get the point on Rosh Hashanah where it said that the silik was only on the pneumius and not on the chitzonius. It sounds that the atzmi is more in chitzonius than the pneumius. I didn't get the pneumius and chitzonius, the wall.
All right. So the Rebbe asks the question: since that the creation is Ratzon, and Ratzon is present only while the Ratzon, but it is there as a Ratzon presence. And if it is withdrawn, so everything that the Ratzon created should vanish with it. So how come Rosh Hashanah is a time when the Ratzon Elohim, the Ratzon for world, is being withdrawn, because it's a time that it has to be renewed and reconsidered? I'm sorry, this it's flipped at the fly. It's come out so strong on the recording. It's amazing.
talk about Rosh Hashanah, but
yes, on Rosh Hashanah it's withdrawn. So how come there is a world remaining after Rosh Hashanah, at the moment Rosh Hashanah sets in? The whole thing should vanish. So the Rebbe explains that this which is withdrawn on Rosh Hashanah is only from the Pnimius perspective, and not the Chitzonius of the world, but the Pnimius of the world. We explain what is that referred to. The Pnimius of the world means the way the world is seen from an inside view. from a godly perspective. The divine element in the world is withdrawn, but the chitzonius element in the world, that remains. So we explained where is the chitzonius element of the world come from, and how come that remains. So we explain the chitzonius element of the world, because there is the source of everything is etzem. Etzem means an absolute reality. Absolute reality encompasses everything, from the life element, from the inception, all the way down to just a plain physical presence.
On the call, press 1.
Etzem means, as I said, the absolute reality itself. That is represented by the fact that that reality encompasses from the top all the way to the bottom. The expression in Kabbalah is L'maylo maylo adin ketz u'l'mato mato adin tachlis. Higher and higher all the way to no end, and be lower and lower to no end, to no particular definition in tachlis. This is why it comes out also b'chitzenius. We explained what is chitzenius. Chitzenius means that you can, so to speak, represent and replicate the world, the divine concept behind the world. You can replicate it on a worldly level. That it lacks a spirit completely. It's just a replication. It's just a structure. Like we gave our example of a table. You can build a table. A table belongs in a home, but you can build a table, and the table can stand in the middle of nowhere.
So the answer here is that on Rosh Hashanah, what is withdrawn is just the Pnimius Ratzon, not the Chitzoni.
That's right.
Even though both Pnimi and Chitzoni are originating from the same
thing, right? The Chitzonius was not withdrawn. The Chitzonius is not the essence of the Ratzon.
You may think that since they come from the same place, and that place is withdrawing its input, so that both fade away, but no.
That's right, but no. Because what's being withdrawn is from an insider's view, because now we have to reconsider what this is all about. That's an insider's view. The way it appears in the world, who cares? Yes, it's true, it's also representative of the etzem element.
Uh-huh. You may think it would be the first level to disappear, but okay. It's secondary. It's got less desire on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point. Okay, one second. Your question is valid. It's not the first point to disappear, because if you have to reconsider something, you reconsider something from an insider's view.
Yeah, you leave the structure standing and you say, "What's it all about?"
What is it all about?
Okay, fine.
All right. So we have our lesson. I think that slamming on the birds is not going to hurt anything. It's not going to accomplish anything, and it just disrupts class. I'm talking about the flies. Okay. All right. So we are starting from the end of the third line from the bottom on page Kuf Chof.
So what stays is that it really, when the silic is not in the premise, it's just like the svur of it, but nothing in bulk is really being touched.
No, everything is touched. The inside, the reason for it.
Just the reason, but not the structure.
The structure is an inadvertent, so to speak, result. This is.
But that still stays.
That stays because this is not the real Ratzon. This is not what the reconsideration is about.
What is the consideration if it doesn't?
All right, let's okay, very good. Let's try to consider again. Let's use our mashal, right? You have a home, and in the home you have furnishings, and then you say, I want to move the home. I don't want to stay here. I want to move my home elsewhere. What part of the home are you going to consider first? The chairs or the home element?
The home element.
That's it.
But
Who cares about this home now? I mean, the chairs. The chairs are of a secondary level. They are there because there is a home. I'm not interested in the home. I want to transplant my home elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I said the third line from the bottom, on the wide lines. Elsewhere it explains. This principle that we discussed here, it explains somewhat differently and a little more precisely and more clearly and more purely.
Sorry, let's say again. The third line from the...
No, from the top section. I'm sorry, before the kitzur. You look at the kitzur. Page Kuf Chof.
The third one...
From the bottom of the first section.
Yeah, from the bottom of the top section.
3 lines from...
You have it?
Maybe this line starts Delihos.
Yeah, in Hayois.
Got it.
No, above the Hayois. Hayoisoi.
Got it.
Elsewhere it explains. Hayois, that being that Shahiz Havos who meyatzma saying soy, that his Havos is of and coming from Atzmus Ein Sof, the Etzem of Ein Sof. Not of any kind of expression, and diluyim, and a significance and a spirit element of Atzmus Ein Sof. Etzem Ein Sof itself, the reality, the truth itself, the absolute truth itself. The whole of Adam, because he alone, bekoichei v'yicholtei, is within his power and within his capability. Lahaves yesh meyayin, to bring forth a yesh meyayin, a presence from non-presence. Ve'efes hamuchlot, and from a state of efes hamuchlot, and absolute nothingness. Only he can bring forth existence from absolute nothingness. We should actually revisit this maybe later. And for this reason, just as the Atzmus, this absolute reality, is present, is in a presence of a quality, of a state of bilti mitzias nimtzo, that is not an identifiable, a present and a knowable presence. His existence, his presence is not definable and is not in the category of being a mitzias. He's there because there is something there. There is nothing there. His presence is not present, not present dependent. His presence is an absolute presence. Let me see if I can put this in some kind of a words that we can relate to. His presence is not there because it is present, but because it must be there. It cannot not be. It cannot not be means that it's not a presence dependent at all. When it is not there, it is also there.
When it's not there, it's also there.
It cannot not be.
And he sometimes shows up as a presence, and sometimes
When he
not.
when he decides to show him, he shows. Sometimes he decides not to show, he doesn't show. But it's all it's a non-presence, not presence dependent.
It's not even accurate to say non-presence, right? Meaning.
It's not. That's right.
Okay.
Because his presence is an absolute. When he's not there, and he's there is exactly the same thing. So therefore, the creation is the result of his power of creation, because only he is capable of creating something from total nothingness, from absolute nothingness. And therefore, since that his own presence is a non-presence, as I said, it's the absolute reality itself that is there, whether it is there or not is there, it is there. Moi Kain, the end of that second line, Moi Kain, so likewise, his havos, that which came into being by the creation, who bechinas mitzius, is such a mitzius, shebe'emes, which on truth, eine bechinas mitzius klaf. In truth, it is not in the state of mitzius at all. It doesn't really exist.
Sorry, what's the it?
The creation. It's not a real mitzius. Therefore, when the Ratzon to create is withdrawn, there's nothing left. It is there only because the Creator wants it to be. It does not have a presence of itself whatsoever. Even while it is there, it is a non-entity. Because, as the Rebbe said, because the creation comes from his effect, his the power of his creation, the power of creativity that only he has, and his power of creation is not presence dependent. All right. Let's see if we can go through the kitzur. We spent plenty of time in this. Let's do the kitzur. Beer ho'inyan. The beer of the inyan. This refers to the inyan of the makifi, the koich makifi. Hine oirin sovasoiv. Oire Soiv HaSoiv that surrounds all existence. Hagam, even though as Hashamayim Behoretz Anim Oli, even though, as the Pasuk says, I filled Shamayim and Oretz. And yet, Harehu Kodesh Umuvdo, despite the fact that he fills the whole existence, he is really Kodesh Umuvdo, is separate and completely remote from it. How can it be? He's either there or he's not there. This was our question. And that can be understood by using emotional Ratzon. So moved on Mekol HaKoiches. Ratzon is a koyach which is moved on Mekol HaKoiches, is distinct from all the koiches. Why is it distinct? Shehein, because all the koiches are bebchinas mitzius chutz le'atzmus hanefesh. Are in the state of mitzius are a presence outside of the essence of the nefesh. Such as, as for example, sheha nefesh maskeles. Yes, these are koiches that belong to the nefesh, and the nefesh uses the koiches. The nefesh uses the koiches for the function that this koich provides. Sheha nefesh maskeles, and nefesh maskeles comprehends bekoyach haseichel, with the power of seichel. Umisoired, and the nefesh is aroused. Bekoyach hamidos, is aroused to some kind of reaction. Bekoyach hamidos, with the koyach of midos. Ubepiulosam, and then these koiches, when they do their act, hu shenasadov, this is where something of a definitive level comes to be. Kumoi, as for example, haskoloi hatov, comprehension, understanding, a seichel, or hatova, or a goodness, bestowing of God, of goodness. Ve'alkein, at that point, so these koiches, they really create, they result into something of a real presence. Therefore, gam shemistal lega koyach, even when the koyach is removed, when once is no longer involved in chokhmah, he's not thinking about his chokhmah. Nonetheless, nisharo hapiyulo, the effect of its having been present remains, because he understood the scene. He knows what he understood. He has that which he understood. Avol harotzoin, but the rotzoin, hu rag hatoyes hanefesh. The rotzoin is not an entity, not a real, so to speak, tangible, in our terminology, tangible presence, a definable presence. And it consists only hatoyes hanefesh, the nefesh leaning and identifying itself. V'hu ayin be'etzem, and in essence it is ayin, it is a non-entity, a non-presence. Ve'alkein, and for this reason, shemistar lega nefesh, when the nefesh is removed, what does it mean that the nefesh is removed? The nefesh does not want to produce this rotzon. Then nothing is left from the fact that a moment ago he had this rotzon. Nothing is left of that moment prior experience. This is all a moshel to understand how things are lamaila, or lamaila, the way things are lamaila. Who this in is reflected in this. The me'ei pnimi, that the maila there's oi pnimi and oi makiv. From oi pnimi nishar, something remains gam shemistalik, even when the oi pnimi is removed. For example, what remains after the oi pnimi is removed? This is called the sfichim. When you harvest the field, something remains, and it reproduces itself. Aftergrowth, it's called sfichim. Because what's removed at that point is only the oil pnimi, the oil that has been represented in specific presences. But if the very will that is in the world would be removed, then it would be ayin ve'efes, really, literally nothingness, like it never was. But for this reason, Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Hashanah, when there is a removal of Ratzon, so we're saying Rosh Hashanah, the siluk, the removal is only rak b'pnimius, is only on a pnimius level, from an internal viewpoint, an insider's view. Do I want to create? Let me reconsider it. But that which has been established, I'm leaving it alone. The Chitzonius.
I'm leaving it alone, meaning I'll keep it running for the moment.
Yeah. I'll let it be. It's running on its own. Let it run.
There's no real momentum without his hand on it.
Right. But that's why he said that etzem encompasses pnimius and chitzonius. Etzem is a reality that goes from top to bottom.
Yeah, so he keeps his attention on the chitzoni, and he sort of says, "Let me rethink the whole deal here."
That's right.
Okay. What we said earlier that he's not limited to presence or non-presence.
Right.
We do have from the Rambam Ein Lo Demuta Guf, which sort of indicates he will not have a bodily form, but seemingly it's more accurate to say he's not limited to being incorporated into body or not into body, right? And if on a certain moment he wanted to be atzmus muhus in a guf, so be it, right? I mean.
So one is on, you
Right.
said. So we said one is on. It's 30 and 60 present between both minutes.
In the Rambam, in Loshen HaRambam, this is what's called amitius himotzei, the truth of his presence. His presence is not a presence that comes to be. It is there because of the truth of his presence. Truth is omnipresent. Whether it is recognized, whether it manifests itself, it doesn't manifest itself, the truth is the same. Pardon me. For our purposes, I said this is beyond our understanding, beyond seichel b'chalal. But for our purposes, just to show us the reality of it. Where do we experience it? Sight, we all agree, is the most convincing element in human experience. I saw it myself. It's undeniable. That which I experienced otherwise. I know it only because I paid attention to it. I experienced, I felt it. I know it because my hand hurt, my foot hurt, or it was pleasant. But sight is a presentation of the reality. I see it because it's real. Everyone is saying that sight is the most revealing and the most. It relates to the truth more than anything else. Now, if we examine sight per se, there is not an element of experience in sight. You see the intangible. Like we always sing the sky. The sky is so real, but what is it? It is represented. It is seeing the immensity of the world itself, which you can't even fathom, and you can't even give it a measure.
Wait, so we're using sight as a mashal for the way that we perceive reality beyond the way we perceive truth ultimately,
That's
beyond
right.
presence or no presence.
Without tangibility.
Okay, and
And this is most convincing, this is most revealing than anything else.
okay, so this is kind of bypassing what the Rambam says that ein lo demut haguf.
Let me explain what the Rambam is talking about. The Rambam is saying this. Since that our perception and our means of knowledge is through our seichel, and seichel identify things by their tangible aspect, by their definable element. So therefore, from that perspective, you would say, what is reality? That which is definable. So therefore, that puts God also in that same category.
So he's forewarning, if you have this bottom-up approach and you're dealing with seichel, know that he's not of this category.
He's not a category.
That being said, seemingly he could enter that and does enter that category.
He creates that
creates it and transcends it, but also can be in it.
He can be in it, and while he's in it, he's also not in it.
Okay.
He makes himself known through that.
Just to put a real point on this, I think it's been said, Atzmus Sumuhus the Guf, said about our Rebbe or Tzaddikim
right.
in general, yes?
That's right.
So that is as if to say, here's the point where he's entered into physicality
But
and transcending it.
And transcending
Yes,
it in the same time.
Yes, okay. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, so we are up on Ois Nun. Again, as I said, yesterday's class, which was hoped for a long time, and I think it was pretty clear. And I also noticed that, yes, it was understood, and that makes me feel very, very good. V'zehu, let me just start with Nun. V'zehu, that also explains the principle. Sheharatzoin, with the Ratzon einay ba b'bchinas islapshus v'keili. We say the Ratzon does not come, is not descended, is not captured in a islapshus element in kelim, in being imbued in kelim. You cannot provide a kelim. For Ratzon. A keli, what's a keli? A keli is a chitzonius representation of that which is contained in the keli. For example, seichel. Seichel is een slavish in the moyach. Seichel, we think, we understand, we know what we understand, we can conceptualize. But we all know that this part of the seichel is not in the moyach. The part of the seichel is in the neshama power. We understand because the neshama, because there's a profound living neshama, a divine koyach. We don't even know how we got to its understanding, but we understand it. What makes you know that the human being is a different category of being than the animal? It's your seichel. But where is that seichel from? This is the neshama knowledge. But you have it in your brain, in your seichel. So it's mislabish in kelim.
Wait, it is or is not? It is.
It's mislabish in kelim, but it's not created in the kelim. So seichel is a neshama koyach, but it can be mislabish in kelim. Ratzon is a neshama koyach, which cannot be mislabish in kelim.
Isn't it on account of Ratzon that man is different from everything else? Which is seemingly beyond kelim.
Every one of man's capabilities is different than everything else. The way he walks, the way he sits, everything. And we're not looking for where the difference comes from. We're looking to understand what is the difference.
And we said it's mislabish. That difference is yes mislabish in a kelim?
No, that knowledge. The knowledge of difference, not the difference itself.
The knowledge of yes, I am different?
Yeah.
That is seated in mind.
That's in the mind.
But the origin of it is always kelim. Okay.
All right, we shall interrupt for tefillah, for davening, and for Shabbos.
Thank you. Have a good Shabbos.
Seid gesund, have a great day. A good Shabbos.
Shabbos.